They never tell you the moment your marriage changes, forever feels completely ordinary. It was a Tuesday. I got home late from work, tossed my backpack by the couch, kicked off my shoes. The house smelled like baked salmon and that overpriced candle she liked. Something with sandalwood and pretension. She was already at the dinner table, scrolling on her phone, one leg tucked under her like a teenager. No makeup, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands, hair in a messy bun. Still the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, even after 9 years of you forgot to buy almond milk and Netflix arguments. I sat down across from her, started eating. Silence at first, just the clink of forks and her soft little hums as she scrolled. Then she said it. I've been thinking, maybe it's time I do something for me. No warning, no build-up. Just that sentence, dropped into the air like a stone into a still lake. I paused, fork halfway to my mouth. For you? I repeated, confused but curious. She set the phone down and gave me this look. Not hostile, not distant, just hesitant. Like she was still trying to convince herself this wasn't selfish. I mean, I've been home for years. I helped you launch your company, supported you when you worked late, did all the house stuff. But I've never really gotten to chase anything of my own. I didn't argue, because she wasn't wrong. When I left my corporate job to start my own development studio, she was the one who worked 2 part-time jobs to keep us afloat. She skipped hair appointments, canceled vacations, wore the same winter coat for 3 years, all so I could build something from scratch. I want to go back to college, she said, eyes lighting up. Get my degree. Finally, I want to study communications or marketing, maybe journalism. I don't know yet, but God, I'm just tired of feeling stuck. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't demanding. She sounded hungry. Like she'd just remembered a part of herself she'd buried under laundry, groceries, and stability. And me? I felt proud. You should do it, I said immediately. Whatever you need, I'm in. She stared at me for a second like she didn't expect that answer. Then her lip trembled and she got up, walked over, wrapped her arms around my neck from behind and buried her face in my shoulder. Thank you, she whispered. I love you. The next 2 weeks were a blur of excitement. I took time off to help her research programs. We toured campuses, compared online versus in-person options. Eventually, she settled on our local college, the same one she dropped out of 10 years ago when her mom got sick. She called it a full-circle moment. I called it a second chance. I bought her a new MacBook, paid the tuition in one shot, signed her up for online prep courses, even surprised her with noise-canceling headphones and a leather backpack. I remember watching her unbox it all on the couch, eyes wide like it was Christmas morning. She looked up at me and said, "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." And I believed her. When the acceptance email came, she screamed, literally screamed. I thought someone had died. Then she ran into my arms, phone still in hand, shaking with joy. I spun her around like we were in a movie, and she cried into my chest. It felt like a victory, ours, a new chapter. What I didn't know then, what no husband ever wants to believe, is that I had just signed the permission slip for my own heartbreak. And she was already halfway out the door. The first real change was the schedule. Suddenly, everything revolved around campus time. Morning classes, evening study groups, weekend workshops. At first, I admired it. Her dedication, her hunger to succeed. She'd wake up early, eat yogurt and berries, scribble notes in her planner with little hearts next to the word lecture. It was cute, wholesome, like dating a college freshman who also knew how to do taxes. I'd make her coffee some mornings, lean against the kitchen island, watch her stuff her backpack and run out the door with a kiss on the cheek and a "wish me luck." She was glowing. That's the only word for it. New clothes, nothing wild, just more fitted, a little trendier. Cute blouses, heels instead of flats. New perfume that didn't smell like anything she'd ever worn around me. Something floral, expensive, something designed to be noticed. "Nice dress," I said once as she twirled in the hallway mirror. She smiled. You like it? I got it for my presentation day. But then the presentation days started happening more often. And then came the first name, Professor Kane. He's incredible, Jason. You'd love him. He used to work in advertising before he went into academia. He's so passionate. Like, you can tell he really lives this stuff. He reminds me of you, actually. That last one stuck. She brought him up a lot, more than her classmates, more than her courses, and always with that tone, the one you use when you're describing someone who makes you feel electric. I'd hear her laugh from the office while she was on Zoom. Sometimes I'd peek in and see her on a group call, head tilted, twirling a pen in her fingers like a high schooler. That glow in her eyes, it wasn't just academic pride anymore. I noticed the texts next. She started turning her phone face down around me. Not always, just enough. Enough to notice. One night, she was giggling in bed at some message. "Study group stuff?" I asked. "Yeah," she said, locking the screen fast. "They're being ridiculous." I didn't push, because at that point, I still wanted to believe I was the ridiculous one. Still wanted to believe this was just part of her growth. A phase, a beautiful, necessary evolution of the woman I married. But some nights, she'd come home looking lit from within. Hair messy, cheeks flushed, like she'd just run through rain or laughter or something much more private. And she'd just say, "Long day, I'm gonna shower." So I let her. I let her shower. I let her lie. I let myself hope. But even hope has limits. They say most betrayals aren't loud, they slip in quietly, like rot in the beams. And by the time you notice, the whole house is leaning. It was a Thursday evening. I remember because I was working late, debugging a broken API for a retail client in Chicago, the kind of mind-numbing work that makes you question your career choices. I needed a break, so I walked to the kitchen to grab a drink. Her phone was buzzing on the counter. I never touched her phone. Not once in 9 years. But that night, something in me itched. The screen lit up. Study Group K. My class ends. Come by so we can work on your performance. I stared at the message. Not read it. Stared. My brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe it's just a joke. Maybe performance meant her presentation. Maybe that heart emoji was a misclick. Maybe. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. I wanted to smash it into something and scream, ask her what the hell that meant. But I didn't. Instead, I stood there staring at that line of text until it disappeared into the lock screen. Just one message, just one emoji. But it was the sound of the first crack in my reality. As soon as Ashley saw the message, she quickly got ready and left. When she got home that night, I was on the couch pretending to watch a YouTube video. She walked in, smiling, humming something. Her hair was damp again. "Hey," she said, dropping her bag near the door. "Long study session?" I asked. She paused just a second too long. "Yeah, we were reviewing the group project. Took forever." No eye contact. Straight to the bathroom. Door locked, water running. I didn't say a word. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because part of me, the part that still wore the ring with hope, needed more than one line of text, needed proof, needed to be sure. And so I waited. I let her lie again. I let her kiss me goodnight with lips that tasted like peppermint and guilt. I let the rot settle in a little deeper. But something in me had changed. I was done guessing. It was time to start watching. The idea started off innocent. Sweet even. She mentioned skipping lunch that day. Something about classes back-to-back and only having time for a granola bar. I remembered nodding as she said it, too distracted at the time to think much of it. But later, as I drove home from a client meeting, I saw her favorite Thai place and thought, why not? Why not show up with her go-to pad CU, a Thai iced tea, and maybe catch a glimpse of my wife in her element? She always talked about how proud she was to be back in college. I wanted to see that pride in action. I also, though I didn't admit it to myself yet, wanted to check. So I drove over, no text, no warning, just a husband doing something nice. Campus was quiet. It was after 6 p.m., classes winding down. I parked and headed toward the humanities building, where I knew she had study group that night. When I got there, the lights in most classrooms were off. I waited outside the main door, balancing the takeout bag on one arm, checking the time every 30 seconds. 10 minutes passed. 15. I called her. No answer. Sent a text. Me. Hey babe, brought you dinner. Out front. No response. I waited. Another 10 minutes. Cold wind picking up, my Thai tea sweating through the cup. And then I saw her. She wasn't coming from the humanities building. She was walking across the lot, from the side entrance of the faculty parking area, and she wasn't alone. Professor Kane's silver BMW was parked under the tall lamp by the trees. She stepped out first, hair a little messy, cheeks flushed, laughing. Laughing that full-bodied laugh she used to save for inside jokes with me. Then he stepped out. Blazer off, sleeves rolled, that smug, I know I'm charming smirk spread wide across his face. He said something that made her swat his arm and laugh harder. She leaned against the car for a second, then started fixing her hair. Lip gloss. Quick check in the mirror. And then she saw me, standing 30 feet away, holding a bag of lukewarm Thai food, looking like a punchline. Her face dropped, just dropped, like a stage curtain. I didn't say anything, I didn't move. I just looked at her. She froze, then muttered something to him and jogged over, fake smile already plastered on. Jason! What are you doing here? Her voice was high, panicked. She glanced over her shoulder. Kane was still by the car, now checking his phone, pretending not to see me. I thought I'd surprise you, I said quietly. I held up the bag. You said you didn't have time to eat. Oh, that's really sweet. She reached out for the bag, hand shaking just slightly. I didn't know you'd be around. Yeah, that's kind of the point of a surprise. Her eyes darted again toward Kane, who had gotten into his car now. Look, we were just talking. He gave me a ride because my class ran late. That's all. Uh-huh. I nodded slowly. You normally laugh that hard after a ride? She bit her lip. The fake smile faded. Jason, please don't start. Not here. I'm not starting anything, I said, voice even. I just brought dinner. I handed her the bag, then turned and walked away. No yelling, no accusations, just silence. But inside I was done playing the fool. She had lied, maybe not with words but with everything else. Now it was my turn to observe, and next time I wouldn't bring food, I'd bring facts. She didn't come home right away that night. I got back first. I even reheated my own leftovers. The irony wasn't lost on me, and sat at the dining table, chewing through microwave regret and playing out the conversation I knew was coming. Door finally opened around 9:30. She came in quiet, keys jingling like a warning bell. Her face looked composed, too composed, like she'd spent the last hour rehearsing. Hey, she said, like nothing had happened. I didn't respond, just looked at her. She walked into the kitchen, placed the takeout bag from earlier on the counter like it was a peace offering. Didn't even open it. So, she began, arms crossed now, tone changing. Why did you show up at college? I blinked. Interesting. That's how we were starting this? I brought you dinner, I said calmly. Like I said. Without telling me? It was a surprise, because I thought you might be hungry. You know, since you skipped lunch? Jason, she sighed, rubbing her forehead like she was the one under stress. You can't just appear out of nowhere and watch me like that. It's weird. Weird. I'm your husband. I brought you food, and I caught you stepping out of another man's car. But I'm the problem? I stood up, arms on the table steady. You didn't mention getting rides home from your professor. Because it's not a big deal, he offered. It was late, I was tired. What, you think something's going on? She said that last line fast, too fast, like she was trying to say it before I even could. Classic defensive strike, block before the punch. You seem to enjoy that ride. Jason! She raised her voice now, almost desperate. I can't believe you're doing this. You know what this is? This is control. It's suffocating. I'm finally doing something for me, and you just can't handle not being the center of it all. There it was. Not denial, not even guilt, just deflection and blame. She was flipping the script, and I was supposed to feel bad for not trusting her. I stared at her for a long moment, then finally spoke. I supported you. Every step. Paid for school. Got you that laptop. Told you to go for your dream. And now, I see you coming out of his car. Hair a mess. Cheeks glowing. Laughing like a schoolgirl. And I'm the problem? She folded her arms tighter. You're reading into it. You always do this. You turn nothing into something. I nodded. Slowly. It was almost funny. She wasn't even trying to lie well. Just loudly. The worst part? A part of me still wanted to believe her. But I didn't say more. I let her win the round. Out loud anyway. Okay, I said simply, walking toward the stairs. Okay? She asked, caught off guard. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm overthinking. And I left her standing in the kitchen with her untouched dinner and her well-rehearsed monologue. But as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, one thing became very clear. I wasn't going to confront her again, not until I had everything. You'd be amazed what people forget to lock when they think you trust them. Or maybe she just didn't care anymore. Either way, that next week turned me from husband to investigator. Quietly, methodically, no dramatic fights, no accusations. Just silence. I started small. Her old iPad, the one she used before the MacBook. It was still synced to her iCloud. She hadn't logged out. Didn't even have a passcode. Rookie mistake. I opened it one morning while she was in class, sat on the couch with my coffee and started scrolling through her synced messages. Most were boring. Course chats, emails from professors, Pinterest boards with study desk inspo. But then I found a hidden album in her Photos app, titled Ref. I assumed ref meant reference. It didn't. I opened it. And there they were, selfies in the lecture hall. Her sitting on the edge of a desk, legs crossed, smirking like a teenager. One photo, him behind her blurred in the background, clearly not posing. Another, her in a button-down shirt unbuttoned halfway, captioned, Office Hours. Then I found the videos. God help me, I watched them. One was recorded late at evening in an empty classroom. She was sitting on a desk, legs wrapped around him. Another, her laughing, breathless, whispering. We shouldn't be doing this here. It wasn't even subtle, and it wasn't new. The timestamps dated back over a month. I felt numb, not angry yet. That would come later. Right now, I was just cataloging, like an IT guy reviewing malware logs. Clean, precise, cold. I backed everything up, uploaded the photos, the videos, and the text threads she thought she deleted. Then I dug deeper. Used a contact I had from a freelance gig, a guy who did digital forensics and private data work. He pulled her call logs from our joint phone plan, dozens of calls to an unsaved number, same one that matched Professor Kane's department line. Next, GPS history from the shared location app we both forgot existed. Turns out, on more than one occasion when she told me she was studying at the campus cafe, she was actually near a hotel by the freeway. Same one he mentioned once during a dinner conversation. Something about convenient parking. Convenient indeed. Last thing I found? Emails. They weren't intimate, but they were enough. An exchange between her and a classmate. Lowell Kane's playing favorites again. We all see it. You're his muse or whatever. Her reply, he's not just my professor. I stared at the screen for a long time. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't emotional confusion. This was a full-on affair, a planned, sustained, carefully hidden affair. And worst of all, I was the idiot who funded the whole operation. Well, not anymore. I closed the iPad, took a deep breath, and started building a presentation. She wanted to pursue knowledge? Fine. I'd give her the lesson of a lifetime. She came home that Friday like nothing had changed, hummed some pop song under her breath, tossed her coat on the back of a chair, her phone already lighting up in her hand. She didn't even look at me. Perfect. I was already waiting in the living room, remote in hand. TV off, lights dimmed, projector on standby. "Hey," I called. Calm, almost gentle. She looked up, a little surprised at the tone. "Hey, what's up? Can you sit for a second? I want to show you something." "Is this about that startup pitch you were working on?" She laughed. "Because I'm not watching another 10-minute demo on back-end optimization." "No," I said, still smiling. "This one's about education." Her brow furrowed. She walked over slowly, dropped onto the couch with a sigh, crossed one leg over the other. "Okay, let's see it." I tapped the remote. The projector flickered to life. And there it was. Slide 1, a title card, white text on black. Timeline of events, academic and extracurricular activities of Ashley M. She let out a short, confused laugh. "What the hell is this?" I clicked again. Slide 2, a calendar grid, highlighted dates, GPS data from her shared location history. Overlay text, claimed campus time versus actual location. "Wait, is this?" She started, voice rising. Click, slide 3, screenshots of texts. "Come by so we can work on your performance. He's not just my professor." She sat forward. "Jason, what the hell are you doing?" Click. Slide 4, still frames from the classroom video, mute, just images. Her legs around his waist, his hand on her back, her face, unmistakable. Her mouth fell open, like it couldn't decide whether to scream or deny. But no words came out. Click. Slide 5, email excerpts. Click. Slide 6, final slide, white text again. Funded by Jason M. Tuition, laptop, trust, ROI, 100%. Silence. She turned slowly toward me, eyes glassy, mouth barely moving. I didn't want you to find out like this." I almost laughed. That was her concern? How I found out? "But you did want me to find out eventually?" I asked, voice low. No answer, just a whisper. "I'm sorry." I tilted my head. "Just because I caught you?" She blinked hard, looked down at her hands. Couldn't even fake a defense now. "Jason, he made me feel seen, like I wasn't just someone's wife." "No," I cut in, quiet but sharp. "You weren't just someone's wife. You were my wife, and I gave you everything. You just chose to cash it in for extra credit." She shook her head, eyes wet now. "It didn't mean anything. It wasn't love. You don't have to love someone to betray the one who did." I stood up, left the remote on the coffee table. "There's nothing left to talk about. The papers are in your inbox, and the college? They'll be getting a copy of the presentation too." Her face paled. "Wait, Jason, no, please don't do that. He could lose his job. His whole career." "Yeah," I said, walking toward the stairs. "Actions have consequences. I learned that the hard way. Now it's your turn." She didn't follow me, didn't scream, didn't beg. She just sat there watching the screen fade to black, just like our marriage. The divorce was quiet, no scenes, no fights, just e-signatures, split assets, and the cold silence of a woman who realized too late that crocodile tears don't work on a man who's already bled out. She tried, of course. A week after the presentation, she sent a long email. Subject, "Can we talk?" She wrote about confusion, about pressure, about not knowing who she was anymore. She said Kane manipulated her, that he blurred the lines, that it got out of control. She said she still loved me, that we had something worth fighting for, that we could rebuild. I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, just clarity. You don't rebuild a house that's been eaten by termites. You tear it down and build elsewhere. I sent the evidence to the college's ethics committee. Didn't even need to write a cover letter. Just forwarded the presentation. 2 weeks later, I heard through someone of all places that Professor Kane had been relieved of instruction, pending investigation. His name disappeared from the faculty directory shortly after. Good. He can explain himself to HR the way Ashley explained herself to me, stammering, shaking, and too late. As for me, I moved out, sold the house, got a new apartment downtown, high floor, quiet, empty but peaceful. And one evening, sitting on the balcony with a beer in one hand and my laptop in the other, I found myself staring at the glowing screen, cursor blinking. After a pause, I clicked Enroll. Course title, The Psychology of Deception and Self-Defense. Subtitle, Recognizing Red Flags, Manipulation and Emotional Sabotage. She wanted college? Well, now I'm learning too. Not about code, not about startups, about people, about silence, about knowing when to stop fixing what someone else keeps breaking. She thought she was chasing her dream, but in reality, I was the one who finally woke up.